The storm clouds rolled over the naval base as engineers and officers crowded around the massive, silent prototype, a billion-dollar defense system that refused to power on. The air was thick with tension, pride, and panic. Admiral Jareth Conway, a man feared for his perfectionism and sharp tongue, paced before the dead machine. 10 years, he barked, his voice like thunder. 10 years and all your brains can't fix what $1 trillion project depends on? His cold eyes swept across the terrified faces until they landed on a janitor standing quietly at the back, pushing his mop, trying not to be seen. "Hey, you," the Admiral sneered. "You look like you've got all the time in the world. Tell you what, fix this, and I'll give you $100 million. The laughter that followed was cruel, echoing through the hangar. If you believe in second chances, kindness, and the magic of unexpected heroes, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness, where true hearts always find their way home. No one expected the janitor, a quiet man named Marcus Hale, to say anything. He just nodded politely, his brown eyes weary but calm. Marcus wasn't always a janitor. Once, he had been one of the Navy's brightest mechanical minds, an engineer who designed flight systems for fighter jets. But life has a way of shattering dreams, his wife's sudden illness, her passing, the crushing bills, the daughter he had to raise alone. He left that world behind, taking whatever job would keep food on the table for his little girl, Sophie, who was now 10 years old and had a mind as brilliant as her smile. That day, Marcus just wanted to finish his shift, pick up Sophie from school, and take her for ice cream like he'd promised. But fate had other plans. As the Admiral mocked the engineers, Marcus couldn't help glancing at the massive defense core, a network of circuits and processors meant to synchronize naval communication worldwide. From where he stood, he noticed something no one else seemed to see, the faint flicker of a diagnostic light that shouldn't have been blinking. He hesitated. Speaking up could mean humiliation. Staying silent could mean living with the knowledge he might have helped. "Sir," he said quietly, "maybe it's not the software. That light needs a hardware lock, maybe an internal bypass was triggered." The room fell silent. Admiral Conway's head turned sharply. "And you think you know better than my top engineers?" he said with a smirk. The chief engineer frowned, checked the light, then turned pale. He's right. It shouldn't be blinking." Marcus looked embarrassed. "Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's probably nothing." But the Admiral's pride was wounded. "Fine," he snapped, "you want to play genius, go ahead. Fix it. 100 million if you can." He gestured mockingly, certain the janitor would fail. Marcus sighed. "I'd need my daughter," he said. The entire room burst into laughter again. "What are you going to do, have her wave a magic wand?" someone muttered. But Marcus only said softly, "She sees things differently. Sometimes that's all it takes." The next morning, Sophie walked into the hangar hand in hand with her father. She was small, with messy auburn hair, freckles, and bright, curious eyes that seemed to light up everything she looked at. She wore a blue hoodie with paint stains and carried a notebook full of scribbles and sketches. The Admiral watched with thinly veiled amusement as Marcus lifted her onto a stool beside the massive core. "This is my helper," Marcus said. "She likes puzzles." Sophie didn't seem intimidated by the rows of officers or the military-grade equipment. She tilted her head, studying the glowing machine with an intensity that silenced the laughter. "Dad," she whispered after a moment, "it's like that old game you showed me, the one where all the switches had to be in the right order to unlock the door. But this one's got a loop. See?" She pointed to the data pattern flickering across the monitor. The engineers leaned closer, frowning. "She's right," one murmured. "It's looping back to a locked core access." Sophie grinned. "So we just teach it the right pattern again. Like saying please instead of shouting." Marcus guided her through a few simple keystrokes, his hands trembling. The moment she hit enter, the machine came alive with a deep hum. Lights flickered, the system stabilized, and a clear female voice echoed from the speakers, "System online." The crowd gasped. Decades of work, billions in funding, and months of failure, solved by a child in less than 5 minutes. Admiral Conway stood frozen, his mockery caught in his throat. For the first time, he didn't know what to say. "How?" he began, but Marcus just smiled, placing a gentle hand on Sophie's shoulder. "She just looked where no one else did," he said quietly. "Sometimes, all you need is a fresh pair of eyes, and a little kindness." That day, the news spread across the entire base. The janitor's daughter had solved what the top minds couldn't. Reporters arrived. Cameras flashed. But Marcus didn't stay for the glory. He signed the report, thanked the engineers, and left quietly with Sophie. When Admiral Conway tried to hand him a check, Marcus shook his head. "I don't want your money, sir," he said simply. "Just make sure no one ever gets laughed at for trying." For days, Conway couldn't shake what had happened. He reviewed the footage, studied the logs, and every time he saw that little girl's face light up, something inside him cracked. He wasn't a cruel man by nature, just hardened by decades of military life, by the weight of command. But Sophie reminded him of something he'd long forgotten: humility.